Hey,
Hi.
what's up?
Not too much. How about you?
Um, a bit tired.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Yeah. We watched a movie, but we're not going to talk about it because
Apparently.
I don't feel like it yet. We watched A Streetcar Named Desire, but I want to do a little bit more. What?
You're just yawning through these statements.
I want to do a little more research about it before we talk about it
Okay.
because I'm not feeling at my best. I'm a little sick and I did feel a certain way about this movie, but I do want to give it the time of day.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
So I think I'm going to regroup. But today I still wanted to do an episode. We're a little late on getting one out because we've got a lot of other production-related stuff going on. So instead, we're going to not watch. We don't watch things on this podcast. We just talk about them. I told you I'm not feeling my best, which is why I want to save The Streetcar Named Desire for the next episode. But we're going to talk about The Great Unfinished, which is a list that I put together on Letterboxd of all the movies that you and I specifically together got halfway through or part of the way through and then stopped, either for like a couple of days or multiple years. And Streetcar Named Desire was on that list. And in fact, we stopped in the middle of it twice. Once was like, I don't know, a year ago, something like that.
We were watching it willingly, not because of the podcast.
Yeah, because the podcast forces us to watch movies.
Well,
against our will.
It's a little more like homework, we're not just...
Is that how you see this podcast?
Throwing
it's like
it on.
homework?
Well, it's fun homework. It's
when
like
is homework ever
film,
fun?
What? Film school wasn't fun to you?
Well, not the homework part. Anyway, so we got like 20 minutes into it last time.
Yeah, something
I think
like that.
For some reason we got it in our heads that we were going to do like a Brando-a-thon.
Yeah, but then we didn't.
Then we didn't. But why were we going to?
Just for fun.
We just felt like it?
We've done marathons before. We've done this podcast. Like we did a cowboy weekend where we watched a bunch of cowboy movies.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's something we do. We did Superman. We didn't talk about it on the podcast. Superman marathon.
Yeah, that had been planned for years. But anyway, so The Great Unfinished. Hannah hasn't really looked at this list before or yet, or I don't know.
I'm aware of some of the movies we have finished.
Yeah. Well, I want to hit you with each one, and I want to talk about why we stopped in the middle of it and if we plan to go back to it. But before that, I want to ask, have you ever walked out of a movie in a theater?
Not of my own volition.
What does that mean?
When I was a kid, I think we walked out of Scooby-Doo.
Which one? The first one or the second
I
one?
think the first one, because there's Rowan Atkinson.
Uh-huh. Why did you walk out of Scooby-Doo?
My mom thought it was too dark.
Well,
like tonally.
I mean, Scrappy-Doo is pretty dark. He was the main villain. Do you recall? I think wasn't he piloting Rowan Atkinson from the inside?
Yeah, I saw it later on in life, but I don't know.
Good movie.
She just like there was a premise where I don't know, monsters were possessing a theme park or something, and she just thought it was inappropriate.
Right. Well, Scooby-Doo, as everyone knows, is extremely inappropriate.
Yeah, I don't know what she thinks she was getting herself into there, because that's kind of the premise of Scooby-Doo, is there's some like evil thing going on, and then they figure out it was just something like normal the whole time.
Like Not So Fast, evildoer.
What about you?
I've walked out of a very small number of films, and at times walked back in after walking out. Because normally I'm a pretty frugal person. If I spent the money, I want to stay and get my money's worth.
I generally don't go to movies that I think I'm not going to enjoy in the first place.
Well, when I tell you one of them, I think you'll get my rationale. So one of them was a drive-in.
Okay. Fair enough.
Drive-ins, I mean, depending on what you're going to, you're definitely seeing at least 2 movies, but sometimes they play like 3 or 4. And if you're going to one where they're playing 3 or 4, you go in thinking like, oh, it's going to be awesome. Stay up all night, watch 4 movies. Then by the time you get to the end of the second one, you're like, I'm feeling pretty tired.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting in the dark in comfy car seats or in lawn chairs
Mhm.
being bitten by mosquitoes because we don't have a car. But basically, we went and saw Two Guns, which is a movie starring Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg. Anyway, so we saw that hunk of junk. And then after that, there was a different hunk of junk that played called Pacific Rim.
Oh, I've seen that.
And that we left because in between movies, we walked into the little concession stand and the grass was wet. And so my shoes got wet. And then in the car, I guess the car was off, so we didn't have the heat on. So my toes started getting really cold and I just wanted to get out of there. So we left.
It sounds unpleasant.
And then, well, I wasn't really enjoying the movie. It seemed like a Neon Genesis Evangelion ripoff to me,
It is.
which we should watch at some point.
Sure.
I don't think you'd love it, but I think you would find it interesting.
I think I would find it interesting.
Right.
I mean, you and I don't know if the drive-in necessarily counts because you and I have gone to the drive-in and not stayed for the second film.
For the second film?
Yeah, I feel like that's different of walking out of a movie like halfway.
Okay. Well, run me through our drive-in visits. I know we went and saw the best one was we saw Ferris Bueller and then The Breakfast Club.
That was awesome.
That was kick-ass. But then we saw the Emoji Movie, which I don't
Which
even
we did. We willingly
why
went
we did
to.
that.
I think just for fun.
Well, I feel like we went because I wanted to see the second movie that was playing, and now I can't remember what the second movie was. We walked out. Yeah, we left halfway through Mission Impossible. I want to say Rogue Nation or maybe Ghost Protocol, one of those.
Okay.
And if you're a big Mission Impossible fan, you're probably like, why would you walk out of that? But it's because the way that we were listening to the audio, it was out of sync. So somebody would throw a punch and you would see the punch get thrown on the screen and it would land and you wouldn't hear the impact until half a second later. And it was just wrecking it.
Absolutely.
Similarly, we actually stayed through to the end of Atomic Blonde.
I fell asleep.
But I was falling asleep and barely caught most of it. Wasn't
it was
a big
the second
fan.
film.
Yeah.
Depending on when you go, dusk is pretty late. So then by the time you get to the second film, it's like bedtime.
Yeah. I guess we saw the Super Mario movie at a drive-in, and then we didn't stay.
That was fun.
We didn't stay for the second movie after that, right?
Because it was like another kid's movie, and we're like, oh, we just came here to see Mario.
Which was awesome, by
Yeah.
the way. Big fan.
It was fun. It was a fun drive-in
Big
experience.
Mario stan.
It was our first drive-in experience having a
With
car.
an actual car. Yeah.
I mean, I've gone to drive-ins with my friends that had cars, and those were great experiences. But
not
you
with
and
me.
I,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those I've sort of walked out on. So Mission Impossible and Pacific Rim. But then I also vehemently walked out of The Wedding Ringer, starring Josh Gad and Kevin Hart.
Okay.
And it was just so bad. Really, really just terrible. And I walked out because I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I had gone to see it with friends, and I realized that if I had any hope of continuing to hang out with my friends after that, I needed to walk back in and continue the movie.
That's fair. Yeah, I've gone to the movies with friends before and seen terrible movies. Like I saw Ice Age, like one of the terrible sequels, and I was just complaining about the movie the whole time we were watching it.
In the theater?
Yeah, I was like, this is stupid.
Oh, man. It's like that kid that was sitting next to me when we saw Elemental. It's a baby movie.
Yeah,
I want to go to Walmart.
pretty much.
Yeah. So what would you say is your rationale for stopping in the middle of a movie when we're sitting at home watching a movie? What makes you be like, I don't want to continue this and I never want to come back to it?
Well, part of the problem is you and I kind of have attention issues. So sometimes if we pause it and then like a whole day goes by, it's kind of like, well, it was like kind of enjoyable, but like I don't know if I'm like eager to continue it.
Yeah, like after a certain amount of time passes, we're already on to the next thing.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, that was good, but I just haven't gotten around to going back to it, like American Psycho or Kramer versus Kramer for me.
Okay, now
But
what was
eventually.
with that?
I told you it was good, but then I had to stop it for a certain reason. And then
What
I
was
just
that
forgot
reason?
to come back to it. Well, American Psycho, I was watching it on a bus, and I was like, this is too inappropriate to watch on a bus.
I watched it in class.
And then Kramer versus Kramer, I think I watched part of it, and then I had to like go to bed or something. And then I just never finished it.
Well, that's what I did with Titanic, is I was watching it while doing my homework because homework was boring and I needed to watch a movie. And then once the ship started sinking, I was finished my homework and I was like, well, I'm going to bed now. So still have never finished Titanic.
Well,
I
you
also
should- you
missed the
should.
very beginning of it because it was just playing on TV.
We should watch it together.
But you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be
Are
part
you,
of
are
this
you
list.
kidding? Like
I'm
me
not kidding.
and
I
my
never kid.
friend Brittany, that
Yeah.
was one of the things that bonded us in elementary school together, is that we liked Titanic, and we would pretend to play Titanic at recess.
That doesn't sound fun. That sounds scary.
I don't know. We were weird children.
Oh man, I had a classmate who was very into Titanic. This was like kindergarten, like senior kindergarten, like maybe grade 1, and we were in like French class or something, and all of a sudden he just started crying. And I can't remember what was going on in the class, but we weren't all in like a circle or whatever. I think the class was kind of divided, and he started crying. And the teacher was like, what's wrong? What's going on? And he was like, I'm just sad thinking about all the people who died on the Titanic.
I mean, it's true. It's sad. It's a tragedy.
I feel like an adult introduced him to the concept of the Titanic sinking way too early, and it
Probably.
messed him up.
I mean, not to get too serious, but I saw 9/11 as it was happening in kindergarten. So.
What a great podcast topic.
All right, let's get back to the unfinished.
Okay, so first up on the list is Slumdog Millionaire. What happened with that?
It was a situation of we started a movie really late and we're like, all right, let's watch this movie. And then we got too tired and we're like, that movie was okay. I don't know if I want to go back to that.
I don't remember it happening that way at all. I remember not liking it.
It was also late.
I don't
But
remember. Well, you have
it
you have a different set of memories when it comes to certain things. Like I'll remember like how I felt about it and like what we did after, and you'll remember like the food that we were eating and like what time of day it was, or I don't know.
Different types of
Closer to the mic,
memory.
sweetie.
Sorry.
Hey.
You're more of like an auditory learner, memorizer, so you remember like certain conversations or how you feel. You're a very like feelings-based person. I'm more of a visual-based learner person,
Mm.
so I remember more like visual aspects
Well,
of memory.
I'm definitely visual. I mean, I would argue that I rely on photos for my memory a lot, photos and video, because like
Yeah.
I remember watching Grease with you and
That was awesome.
and eating fondue, but I remember that. Or wait, was it fondue or was it McDonald's?
No, it was fun. We watched You've Got Mail earlier in the day, and that was McDonald's.
See, I don't remember that at all. But the reason I remember watching Grease and eating fondue is because I took a little video clip of us watching it. So that is what that memory is in my mind.
Yeah, so that was a Valentine's Day, and we're like, we're gonna go all out. We're gonna eat McDonald's. We're gonna watch romance movies.
How times have changed.
Just kidding.
Grease, by the way, awesome movie.
Yeah.
That's one of those movies
So fun.
like Scott Pilgrim where I was like interested in it, but I didn't really know fully what it was all about. And then as soon as the opening theme song started, just the way that it hit me, I was like, holy crap, I'm going to love this movie. And
Interesting.
from that point to the end, I was correct. I loved it.
I was unsure if you were gonna like that movie.
Really.
Yeah. I don't know. I just it's sometimes things can go either way. Where I'm like, this just might not
Love
be
it
his
or
cup
hate
of
it,
tea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Grease, my main memory of Grease before I saw it was it being on the desk of a student teacher in like grade 2,
Nice.
the VHS tape. And I remember thinking, Grease, that's weird. That looks like a weird movie.
It is a weird movie.
Anyway, so Slumdog Millionaire. I didn't like it. I really didn't
No.
like it. I like Dev Patel.
Yeah,
I've
and
seen
I
him
like
in Skins.
I like Danny Boyle movies.
Generally, yeah. But my main takeaway from it was that it felt like I was going in expecting a Bollywood movie, but it felt like a Bollywood movie that was heavily, heavily Americanized.
Yeah.
And it just made it feel like the experience was really watered down from what it could have been. And it just made me want to watch a real Bollywood movie that didn't have like Paper Planes by MIA. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember that song being in that movie, but I'll take your word for it.
It was during a montage scene.
Makes sense.
But that movie was a big deal when it came out. Everybody was talking about that movie and the dance at the end.
Of course.
Yeah.
It was in like our film textbooks.
So do you have
of the dance?
Do you have the desire to go back to that movie?
Yeah, maybe.
Really? Would you start it from the beginning or would you start it from where we left off?
It's been too long. I have to start from the beginning.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Or did you have something else to say?
Well, you know, like movies like Streetcar Named Desire, we were a while in, but we didn't start. And we watched that like a year ago. Whereas like Slumdog Millionaire, that was like when we were dating.
Well, this was for the podcast. So it deserved starting over. Okay, next movie. Hocus Pocus.
Oh, yeah, we didn't finish that. That was like a Halloween movie. We're like, we're going to get some Wendy's. We're so food oriented with movies.
Crappy food.
We're going to get Wendy's. We're going to settle in. We're going to watch Hocus Pocus. And then we finished our Wendy's and we're like, let's do something else.
Why do you remember this? Like when this was on Halloween?
I think so, yeah.
At our old apartment?
No, I feel like it was like this past Halloween.
Really?
It was definitely at this apartment.
All I remember was being underwhelmed with it. Hocus Pocus was, again, like all these random memories are coming up. Hocus Pocus was, we used to go to this like RV camp kind of thing.
Yeah, the KOA? Or,
no? Well, no. Similar, but like a little more trashy. But there was this kid who like really wanted to watch Hocus Pocus and all the other kids around like.
Great summer movie.
All the other kids were like, no, I don't want to watch freaking Hocus Pocus. And I was like, I'll watch Hocus Pocus with you. And he was so jazzed. He was like, yeah, let's go watch Hocus Pocus.
Sweet.
But I think we didn't start it. I think we ended up starting Lord of the Rings instead.
Okay.
But I feel like we started like the Two Towers, not even Fellowship of the Ring. So I just remember being really confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a long time coming to watch Hocus Pocus. And then didn't amount to anything. We never finished it.
I think it's one of those things where you have to watch it when you're a kid and then you got like the nostalgia for it and you're like, oh, this is great. Like, Don't Look Under the Bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Austin Powers, you know? Like when we watched Austin Powers a few weeks ago, that really seemed like a time and a place kind of thing that like you either watched it when it came out or shortly after it came out and loved it. Or if you're like me, you watched it out of context in 2023 and thought it was trash.
I had seen it when I was a kid and I was like, yeah, this is funny, I guess. And then I had nose surgery and I wasn't supposed to do anything. So I was like, let's throw this on, whatever. It'll just be like a fun time, whatever. And it was so...
It was very bad comedy. Just like weak. It was
aged so poorly. Like...
Yeah, I made the remark that like there's a scene where Mike Myers as Dr. Evil is going like, I'm hip.
See, that's funny.
Doing, like,
that's funny because it's so stupid, but I don't think it's like that self-aware. Like it knows it's stupid, but it also thinks it's like hilarious.
Well, I made the remark that I bet you once they cut the cameras on that, the whole crew applauded from the genius of improvisation that was Mike Myers. I bet you that happened. They were like, oh my gosh, comedy genius.
I know, that really undersells like really good improvisers like Steve Carell and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, and Robin Williams.
Absolutely.
So would you go back to Hocus Pocus? I would.
Yeah.
Around Halloween specifically. Kathy Najimy.
Maybe with like a child, through a child's eyes, like watching it with like, yeah.
Let's both try talking as far away from the microphone.
I'm sorry.
I'd go back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, next, Raging Bull.
Yeah, I would totally go back to that.
Well, that wasn't the question yet. It was more why did we stop in the middle of it?
Okay, so we were at this Airbnb that was called the
was awesome.
Cinema Lodge, where it had like a giant projector and like movie theater type seats.
It wasn't a giant projector. It was a regular sized home projector.
Okay, well,
as far as projectors go, it was pretty small.
Well, the seats were close to it, so it was a big experience. So we're like, oh yeah, like we have this experience, like we should watch some cool movies while we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to watch Raging Bull, and I thought he was okay. And
well,
then
I feel like, did we watch it because there was a Raging Bull poster on the wall?
I don't know, maybe.
I think there was an Alien poster, and there was like a popcorn maker and some of those like checkerboard tiles. It was a really cool place.
I enjoyed it.
Made for watching movies. We also watched Hunt for the Wilder People there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was so much fun.
That was pretty good. But I had seen Raging Bull already, and I thought it was good. And so I was like, oh, let's watch it. You know, we're in the cinema lodge. Let's watch some cinema.
Yeah.
And
we watched it like a few minutes. Yeah.
Finding it boring.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not into it. And I was like, it's fine. Whatever. And you're like, I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then we put on...
Because I call the shots, apparently.
Well, I mean, if you're not into it, I'm not going to protest.
Fair enough.
It's not like I was that into it that I was like, oh, we have to continue.
Yeah. Well, I'm very opinionated.
Yes. We watched that real estate movie instead.
Oh, The Big Short?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was really good.
Yeah. And then
I
we also
enjoyed that.
played Carmen Sandiego, The Great Chase Through Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
And then you were chatting with friends outside, and I made us all pour over coffee.
Yeah, you're so sweet.
That was fun.
Yeah,
So-
I would go back there.
But would you go back to Raging Bull?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
I think Scorsese is generally overrated, but I liked like Wolf of Wall Street, The Aviator,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I
so-
wouldn't go back to Raging Bull personally, but that's because I have finished it already. But, I mean, if you want to, maybe.
I could be into it from like, just like a good movie watching perspective, like learning about cinema.
And so speaking of Martin Scorsese, next on the list, Goodfellas.
Oh, I would go back to that.
Okay, but again, the first question in the
Okay.
list is, why did we stop watching it?
Again, because of you.
What did I do?
So I believe we like woke up and it was like a Saturday morning or something, and
I know them well.
you just put it on, and we just started watching it up until like the kid becomes an adult and he's talking to like Joe Pesci in the bar or whatever, and then you're like, all right, like let's watch something else now, and I was like, okay. Like you threw it on for me to see it, and then I was like, oh, we're not going to continue this? Okay.
That doesn't sound like me. I feel like we had to leave the house or something.
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe
I
I
think
just
you're
got
like,
bored.
I just wanted to give you a taste of it.
Well, again, so to be clear, I have seen Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think the reason why I put it on is there's some movies that I've either been trying to get you to watch for a couple of years, and every time I ask you if you want to watch it, you're always like, isn't that really long? I don't want to watch it. So then I put on just the beginning of it to like draw you in. So then you'll feel like you have to finish it, or at least like pique your interest. Did I do that with Drive? Or maybe I did that with Rob, with my stepdad Rob with Drive.
That doesn't surprise me.
I put on the
in
first 10
in the
minutes.
slightest. We were talking about Scott Pilgrim, and I said this to you like long before we were dating, when we were friends, like in college. He just like pulled up in a computer lab the beginning of Scott Pilgrim and played me like the first couple scenes, and he's like, that's Scott Pilgrim.
That sounds like something I would do.
Yeah.
For sure. I would definitely go back to Goodfellas. I mean, I don't think that Goodfellas is like Martin Scorsese's best movie ever. I don't even think it's that good. But of all like the Italian gangster movies that Martin Scorsese has done, that's definitely my favorite. That's what I would say is the
Fair.
best. Departed, Mean Streets, ugh. Casino, ugh, so long. But Goodfellas,
Oops.
sure. Ray Liotta, famous for his role in B Movie, where he plays himself.
Really?
You don't remember that?
Man, it's been a long time since I've seen B Movie.
He gets called to the stand for some reason when they're doing like the trial scenes.
That's funny.
It is funny. You know what? He also played the main player character in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but you didn't know that.
I didn't.
Yeah, Tommy Vercetti.
Makes sense.
One of the first cosplays I ever did. Anyway,
Cool.
Goodfellas. I'd
So,
go back
yeah.
to it.
It seemed like a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Next on the list, Jinro, the Wolf Brigade.
No.
No. Yeah, no. That's a quick no on that one.
We were doing like a Japanese Asian cinema type night.
Well, yeah, sometimes we'll do that where like we'll go to TNT and we'll get a bunch of Japanese snacks and stuff and then watch like an anime movie or something.
Mm-hmm. And you had put that on at the suggestion of your brother or something.
No, not from my brother. It was because it was very highly rated on like myanimelist.com of like in the movies section.
Oh yeah.
I think I remember it like starting out with a bang, and then it got like really slow all of a sudden, and I just
it seemed kind of boring to me.
Lost interest.
And then we probably watched Studio Ghibli movie instead after that.
Probably. Okay, not coming back to that one.
No.
Funny Girl.
Sure.
Meh.
It was decent.
It's kind of long.
it's an
149 minutes.
Well, it's an autobiography. So.
Oh, is it?
Or not auto. It's a biography. Biopic.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I guess no one that I know, or at least on Letterboxd, has watched it, so I don't have any like recommendations to go on. We had watched like something Barbara Streisand related. Yeah, The Way We Were. I feel like we watched. No, yeah, okay. we watched what?
That was okay.
We watched The Way We Were, and we watched What's Up, Doc.
Ooh, yeah.
So we were on a bit of a Barbara Streisand kick.
Why haven't we seen A Star Is Born then?
Well, because we watched the Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga one, and then we were like, okay, let's give that a bit of space for a while. But
we gotta do a marathon of that, the 3 that we haven't seen.
Of all of them?
Yeah. The first one's Judy Garland, I think.
I guess so. Anyway, I don't have strong feelings to get back to that one. Okay, next one. Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, yeah.
I really do not remember why we stopped in the middle of this one.
Attention span. Again, I think.
Well, the main thing that I remember from it was he was like looking at himself in the mirror in his underwear. And he was saying, like, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, yeah.
I feel like that's around where we stopped. And it's like, how could I stop watching the movie after that? Al Pacino. It's like turned to his grandma, like, Al Pacino.
It seemed like a fun movie. Like, I think one of the first scenes is like a steady cam shot of him like walking around eating pizza or something.
Yeah, well, maybe he's eating pizza, but he's carrying like a can of paint, and he's walking to Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Obviously, big like Bee Gees presence in that soundtrack. I have the soundtrack on vinyl. It was my mom's from when she was a kid, teenager, whatever. And I love the Bee Gees, and I like John Travolta, so I don't know why we did not continue that.
We should definitely continue that. It seemed like a good time.
You know, maybe we'll put it on this list, our film history list.
That's a good idea.
Because it's late 70s, 77. So, okay, we'll tack that onto the list. Come back to that one. Little Shop of Horrors. Also don't remember why we stopped in the middle of this one.
I think it was, again, attention span. Like, we were watching it as part of a Halloween marathon.
Were we?
Yeah. Around Halloween. I think it was maybe the same year we watched The Thing. And we watched, like, part of it, and we're like, we'll come back to this. And then we never did.
Directed by Frank Oz. I like Rick Moranis.
Steve Martin in it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would come back to that.
Sure. I don't know when, but
at Halloween.
Point,
I think maybe before Hocus Pocus.
Hocus who?
Hocus Pocus? Uh-huh. Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. Well, this Halloween, you know what we're watching this Halloween. We're watching the movie that would have been on this list in the night. Well, no, I guess not technically because I've seen it. But the movie that I was so absolutely shocked that you hadn't seen, that when you told me you hadn't seen it, I almost flew out of my chair, which is the Bela Lugosi Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
How have you not seen that? You took a vampire class.
I might have seen like a scene from it.
I don't get it.
I don't know. We watched other vampire stuff.
Oh, we got to watch it. I watched that movie when I was probably like 14. Which at the time, that was like the oldest movie I had ever seen. It was 1933, I think. But of course, now we watch movies from the 1910s. But
that's right.
I'm
we're cool like that.
We're so cool. Watching movies from 1917. Okay. Anyway, I'm eager to watch that with you because I remember it being a lot better than the 30s Frankenstein, which had almost no music.
That was pretty bland. I wouldn't rewatch that, I don't think.
So I think that's what we'll hit up.
Well, we should watch Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Sure.
Because I really enjoyed that. I think you would like it.
All right, let's do it. Speaking of Halloween, next on the list, Halloween Town. Now, this is actually a movie that I think both of us have seen already.
Oh, I've seen it many times.
I've seen it once or twice. But why did we stop watching it? I seem to remember something about a hot tub.
Yeah, so we were on vacation or like it was like a wedding
It was
weekend.
a destination wedding.
Yeah, so we were in like a hotel hot tub watching it. And then I think we just maybe got overheated and we're like, let's just do something else.
Well, I remember we were drinking Kentucky Mules.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time I had ever tried whiskey.
Yeah, that was good.
I had been gifted a bottle because it was not something that I would normally buy. And we were all into vodka at the time. So we were making Moscow Mules. And so I had the whiskey and we made some Kentucky Mules. And I think maybe we just got a little too drowsy being in the...
From the hot water
in the
alcohol.
jacuzzi.
Yeah,
Drinking some Kentucky Mules.
I mean, it's also a movie we've both seen before. So we're like,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I think it falls into the category of Hocus Pocus where it's like it was good when you were a kid, but as an adult, you maybe don't have the patience for it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would go back to it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
I would maybe watch it with like our future kids, but I'm not eager to go back to it.
Sure. So, Day for Night.
Yeah. So we watched part of that on my birthday one year because you did sort of like a French theme, like we were in Paris during COVID.
Sort of like a French theme?
No, it was a French theme.
Thank you very much.
You hung up like blue, white, and red streamers, and you put like French music on, and you put like a background that looked like the Paris skyline. And
on a TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got like a charcuterie board and white wine and made us berets. It's very sweet.
White wine being the cause for us not finishing the movie.
Probably. Well, because it was nighttime when we started it. I think we made like a painting first.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
We did
watercolor painting.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh yeah, like let's watch like a Truffaut movie, like, you know. And I thought it was fun enough. We definitely have to start from the beginning again, though.
It's hard watching a movie with subtitles when you're a little bit intoxicated. It's hard watching a movie without subtitles when you're a little bit intoxicated. That's why I never finished Sicario.
If you don't mind me saying, when we were watching A Streetcar Named Desire, you...
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll save this for the next episode.
All right.
So... I do actually want to go back to Day for Night.
Yeah. Yeah, I was into it.
But I also do want to drink white wine while we watch it.
It sounds awesome. Do charcuterie.
Yeah, again.
I'm so into charcuterie.
I mean, that was a COVID birthday. So, because we were inside. So that must have been like 2020.
Something
right?
like that.
So
Yeah.
like almost 3 years ago.
We were in the old apartment for sure.
So yeah, I would go back to that. And then second to last on the list, Sherlock Holmes. I remember exactly why we stopped in the middle of this one.
You were bored?
It was because you had built it up for so many years. Like, oh, the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes with Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. Like, oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And then wasn't that awesome?
No, the second one's better, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not going to watch the second one without watching the first one. And the first one wasn't that great, so I guess I'm not watching the second one.
I guess so. Well, I thought it was good, not great. And I watched the first one so I could see the second one in theaters. I watched it like the day before I saw the second one in theaters.
Right.
So it was more of like a fun experience to see a movie in theaters, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so, yeah. It's like when I watched the first half of Thor immediately before walking out of the door to see the first Avengers, just so I could have the context.
Fair enough. I think The second half of Sherlock Holmes is better than the first half, though, to be fair.
Second half?
But yeah, because we only watched like the first half.
Not even. We were like half an hour in, maybe.
I don't know. I thought it got better from there. To be fair, I think that the Benedict
Yeah, you forgot the T.
Cumberbatch version is maybe a little more true to the source material in some ways, even with the modern update.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard now that I've seen all of that to compare it now to the movies with Robert Downey Jr.'s bad accent.
Yeah, well, I had to endure that through Chaplin as well.
Oh, yeah.
So. I mean, I like Guy Ritchie as a director. Did he do Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels? I think he did, yeah.
Oui.
Yeah, so, and Snatch, I think he also did.
Yes.
So, I do like Guy Ritchie, so I was actually really excited about it. I thought it was going to be awesome. I would maybe go back to it. But you would have to...
Give it the right time of day.
You'd have to butter me up and get me in a really good mood. And maybe pour me a drink.
Well, it could be just one of those movies we throw on, like less pressure, like Austin Powers, where it's like, we're just going to watch this now. No big deal, you know?
Yeah, not a podcast.
Yeah.
Full podcast episode kind of movie.
No.
Okay, and then the very last on the list, Streetcar Named Desire. Why did we stop in the middle of it? 20 minutes into the middle of it.
I think it was just getting late and we were drowsy and we're like, not that into it so far.
I mean, that seems to be a running theme here, but also when we were gearing up to watch it again for the podcast, you just flat out didn't want to watch it. You were like, I don't want to watch that.
The first 20 minutes didn't grab me so much. I mean, we'll get into it more, my opinions of the movie now that I've finished it.
Well, I mean, you got to save it for the episode.
That's
but you
what
can
I'm saying.
Tease it a little bit.
Yeah. I will say now that I've seen all of it, I like it a lot better than I remembered.
Of the first 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that I have the context
mm-hmm.
and maybe some separation, because we're coming back to it like I'm a year older, year wiser maybe.
Yeah, we're all grown up. So do you think it was worth coming back to after putting it off for so long?
Sure.
Well, I guess that says it all.
I think it is worth, if you're a cinephile, I think it's worth giving it its time. I don't know if I would uphold it as like the greatest of all time, but I think it's worth considering and talking about in the zeitgeist.
Yep, and we will talk about it when we have a little more time to do proper prep for an episode. I can read about it a little more because, I mean, coming out of the movie, I was like, okay, we'll just do the podcast episode and get it over with. And then I was reading the trivia, and there was a lot of interesting stuff in the trivia, and I was like, maybe there's more to this that I need to uncover a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's an adaptation, so
right, or as you would say, an adaptation.
Mm-hmm. It goes both ways.
All right, anything left unsaid, my sweet Hannah?
Well, I think because we both have attention issues, there's always going to be a great unfinished list.
It's only going to grow from here. It's certainly not going to shrink.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, most of these are not coming back to you anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to go take a NyQuil. And,
yeah. It's Andy's bedtime.
Okay.
Taking a turn for the Carl. Where he's like, we got to stop talking about movies. I got to go to bed.
Yeah. Shout out to Carl and Gabe Go to the Movies who had us on one of their most recent episodes.
That was really fun.
Wes Anderson. That was great. I hope to have Carl on soon or soon-ish to talk about a movie. But again, they, particularly Carl, mostly watch new movies. Mm-hmm. So might take a while to get to one of the movies on our list that Carl feels strongly about. But we'll look out for one.
Well, on Letterboxd, he rated Lawrence of Arabia 5 stars. So maybe that one.
Out of 5?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, potential. We'll reach out and see if he feels strongly about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching more movies with you. I'm really excited as we get into the 50s more. Like, there's a lot of movies on this list that I'm like excited to watch because I've been wanting to watch them and I haven't had a chance to. So
absolutely. You know what I'm excited about?
What?
I'm excited about the episodes that we're going to do in like September, October. because it won't be so hot that I can see like the sweat pooling on both of our foreheads as we record the podcast, because we have to turn our air conditioner off so the microphones don't pick it up.
At least we have air conditioning. The two turn off these days.
Yes, pour one out for those who don't have air conditioning. All right. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you when hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better. But
Okay, go watch a movie. Bye. We love you.
Yeah, we love you so much.